Enunciate, Norma. You must speak so the people at the back can hear. Those words stayed with my mom for a lifetime. Good morning. For those who don't know me, I'm Linda, Norma Drosdowech's daughter. Many of you knew my mom. She was a chaplain here at the Unitarian Church. She served with you, she married some of you, she celebrated life with you, she mourned with you. She stood at this pulpit and spoke with both strength and warmth. She helped build this community, not only spiritually, but quite literally. She was part of the committee that secured the funding for this building. This wasn't just a church she attended. She felt a deep sense of belonging here. A few months ago, I came here to hear my friend Tamara Craker speak, and I hadn't been in the sanctuary since my dad's funeral. During COVID, when my mom passed, we weren't able to hold a memorial service here, which she would have loved, but we did have a beautiful Zoom service that many of you attended. It felt so good to be back in this sanctuary. And I sat in the pews and I felt her presence everywhere and a deep sense of connection to her. I pictured her standing at this pulpit and the sun, well, the rain coming in. I could hear the piano she used to play at some of the services, and it reminded me of all the times growing up when I'd hear her practicing at home on our piano. I held the hymn books that she once held, and I turned and talked to a lot of you who had been her community. My friend Tamara asked me to do one of her readings, and as I walked up here, something I was not prepared for came to me. It all came rushing back. My mom's love of leading her community, and her love of speaking. She believed that her voice and everyone's voice mattered. She was born in 1935. This was at a time where very few women were given the opportunity to have the microphone, to lead, especially in a church. But she was encouraged to find her voice anyway. And once she found it, she used it. She used it to inspire, to comfort, to celebrate, to practice ritual, to advocate, to challenge norms, and to create spaces where people were welcomed, seen, valued, and they belonged. She used her voice to create change. She was a fierce advocate for LGBTQ+ people. As a chaplain, she was one of the first people in Canada to perform marriage ceremonies for gay and lesbian couples. She advocated for women, for seniors, for children, for anyone whose voice was not being heard. As many of you may know, she left the church she had grown up in because she could not reconcile its beliefs with her own. She believed women could and should lead. She believed LGBTQ plus people belonged. She believed faith should expand our compassion, not limit it. And she found her community here. And for that, I will always be grateful. This church gave her the opportunity to be the leader and the speaker she was always meant to be. Social justice, which is such a cornerstone of this church, wasn't something that she just believed in, she practiced. The editors of the Winnipeg Free Press editorial column would also agree, after receiving many of her letters to the editor, which they published. And so would a few of our city councilors who also received direct communication from her. She believed that everyone deserved to belong and nobody should be left out. When she was that little girl learning to speak, her mentor would tell her those words that I started the sermon with. Enunciate, Norma. You must speak so the people at the back can hear. She spoke for the people at the back. She made sure they were included. She made sure everyone belonged. And that wasn't just how she lived in this church. This was how she lived when she was an educator, advocating for her students. And this was how we lived at home. When we had birthday parties, everybody in the class was invited. Nobody was excluded. Nobody was forgotten. That was my mom's vision of the world. Everyone is valued. Every voice matters. Whenever we went out together, she inevitably struck up a conversation with somebody. If she saw anybody struggling with anything, she would give them a smile, make some warm joke, and shared this understanding of life's challenges. She created belonging with her voice and her presence. But in the final years of her life, that voice that had brought comfort, courage, and belonging to so many people began to fade. After my dad died in 2015, we realized fairly quickly that Mom was experiencing cognitive decline. Many of you, unfortunately, know what it is like to watch someone who has always been brilliant slowly lose the abilities that once defined them. My mom, who had written beautiful sermons and speeches, who carefully chose every word, just like I do, who had spoken with such confidence, began to struggle to find simple words. She repeated herself. She lost sentences halfway through. I would visit her many times at lunch, and we would sit together on the veranda, and almost every day, she would return to the same memory, the story of learning to speak. Enunciate, Norma. Speak so the people at the back can hear. Even as so many of her memories faded, that one remained. She never forgot those words. It was as though deep down she knew the importance of finding your voice. And while my mom's voice was growing quieter, mine was becoming stronger. I found myself at Toastmasters. I began delivering talks and speeches, facilitating workshops, often on confidence of finding your voice. Coincidence? I don't think so. Today, in my business, I coach speakers. I help people discover their voice, develop their message, tell their stories, and find the courage to stand on stages. It's work I never imagined I would do. I was terrified of public speaking growing up. Standing in front of a group of people meant my face would flush, my stomach would churn, the words would disappear. But looking back, this work feels inevitable. Even as my mom's voice was fading, her influence and impact was gaining. I felt as though she was handing me the baton. Her legacy became my calling. Even today, before I walk onto a stage, I think about her. And if I'm nervous, which I usually am, I remind myself just whose daughter I am. I borrow a little bit of her voice, and I speak to the back so that people can hear. A couple months ago, I delivered a TED Talk. 4 days before, I had very unexpected gallbladder surgery. So I wasn't exactly at my sharpest with all the anesthetic and pain meds, but still, I walked to the center stage as the opening speaker. 4 lines in, my mind went completely blank. It's every speaker's nightmare, right? I stood there for a moment. Then I remembered something my mom had taught me. Just begin. Trust the words will come. One sentence, then another, and suddenly I was back on track. It reminds me of a quote by the social activist Maggie Kuhn. Leave safety behind. Put your body on the line. Stand before the people you fear and speak your mind, even if your voice shakes. Our voices matter. Our stories matter. We must speak even if our voices shake or we forget the words. Even when the words don't come as easily as they once did. One of the greatest gifts my mom gave me wasn't just simply learning to speak, it was learning why we speak. We speak for justice, for compassion. We speak so people know they belong. And we speak because each of us has a unique perspective that someone else needs to hear. So even if you're caring for someone living with dementia or cognitive decline, even if they're struggling to find words and they repeat the same stories, listen. They still have something to say. Their life still has meaning. Their legacy can still be carried forward. When I came back to this church a few months ago, many of you shared stories with me about my mom. Your mom married us. Your mom gave the best hugs. I miss seeing her smile. In those moments, I realized something beautiful. A voice does not disappear. A life lived fully doesn't disappear. It echoes. It shapes. It transforms. It endures. It lives on in us and leaves behind a legacy. One of the values that guides me in my work is making sure that I don't just take the microphone, I also pass it. I want more people to discover their courage to speak. We need more diverse stories being told, more wisdom being shared, more people to know that their voice matters. So I invite you today to think about your own voice. What do you stand for? Whose story needs to be heard? Whose voice can you help amplify? And how can you help someone know they belong? Because that is the legacy my mom left me, and I believe it is the legacy she left all of us. Thank you for listening.